Hi, I'm Shane Delia and welcome to chefmasterclasses.com. We're going to cook our awesome Turkish delight filled donuts with rosewater honey. Everyone always wants to know how to make these Turkish delight donuts. It's the easiest thing in the world and I don't like giving away the secret, but we'll give it for you today. Easy. Flour, sugar and salt, dry yeast, and warm water, and that's it. You have to make sure when you're using your water, it's at blood temperature. If it's too hot, what's going to happen? It's going to kill the yeast. If it's too cold, it's not going to be hot enough to get that activation of yeast started. You can use a fresh yeast if you want, but with fresh yeast, you're always relying on how fresh the yeast is, and it may not be fresh enough to actually rise the dough. With dried yeast, you're always guaranteed to get a good product. So you want to mix up your flour and water and yeast until it becomes a really thick, almost batter, not like a dough, but if it does look a little bit thick, that's fine, because what's going to happen is that air inside the yeast is going to start to rise and lighten up the dough. So what you want to do now is cover the dough, put it in a warm spot, and you need to leave it sit for about 20 to 30 minutes, depending on how warm the spot is. Once the dough and the yeast have activated and it's doubled in size, job's done. Rosewater infused honey, really easy. You can infuse honey with whatever flavor you want. But with a dish like this, when it's solely about that really nice donut and that oozy rosewater flavored Turkish delight inside, you want something that's going to accompany that and complement it, not work against it. So, really simple. Honey. And you always make a mess like I do. Cinnamon quills. And a vanilla bean. Now, the trick with vanilla beans is that try to get one that's nice and moist and nice and soft. What that means is that it's fresh. If you've got one that's really dry and hard, it's probably a little bit old and you're going to lose that intensity of flavour. You want to split it down the middle, scrape out the seeds, just to help it release that flavour a little bit, just a little bit more potent. Put into the honey and a splash of rosewater. You want to just put a little bit now. When you're using rosewater and orange blossom, generally it's added towards the end of the meal because it's one of those ingredients that the longer you cook, it dissipates and you lose that intensity of flavour. That goes on the heat just until there's enough heat in the honey so it slightly simmers, it's done. Comes off the stove, another splash of orange blossom or rosewater, and it's done. Our dough's been sitting for about 20 to 25 minutes now. As you can see, it's doubled in size and all that air inside has really aerated the dough. It made it quite light. Perfect time for cooking. Oil's been heated, 160 to 180 degrees. You can test that with a little oil thermometer that you can get from any domestic homeware appliance shop. Our Turkish delight, we've diced up into, I don't know, about 5 gram pieces. And what this is going to do, it's going to make that gooey hot jam donut interior. Drop it in your dough. Have to be careful, you're working with hot dough and a wet batter, so you're always running that risk of burning yourself. Takes a little bit of a skill. You need to get the dough in your hand and basically you're just trying to encase that Turkish delight in the dough. Drop it into the oil. Be careful not to drop it from too high. If you drop it from too high, it's going to splatter back and it's going to burn you and you're going to know about it. So once the donuts have become nice and golden brown like that, you want to get them out. Because you have to remember, they're going to be drenched in a really syrupy rosewater honey, and that's going to soften them up a little bit. You want to put it in a bowl with some absorbent paper, just to drain off all that residual oil. In the bowl, our rosewater honey from before, and give it a good toss. So once they've been tossed through the honey and they're nice and sticky, just place them on the plate. And you always have to let your customers know they are going to be hot and you don't want them to burn themselves on that really, really gooey, hot Turkish delight inside. And that's it. Apa pisu. I hope you enjoy these gorgeous Turkish Delight donuts. Saha.
Stu,
Narada.
these Turkish Delight filled donuts that Shane Delia has just made,
Look fantastic.
oh my gosh, they not only looked fantastic, I reckon they're one of the yummiest things I've ever eaten in my life.
I
Tilly.
know. I know. You
Do
forewarned
I even
me as
need
well.
to sell
Yeah.
people on the benefits of Turkish Delight filled donuts?
No.
So I can't really imagine a wine going with a Turkish Delight filled donut,
Yeah.
but it's lovely to have a dessert